listening to the best of the Martha Zoller Show. To hear the full show each day, tune in to AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN or log in to accesswdun.com and click the Listen Live button from 9 to 11, Monday through Friday. I'm here with Joni Alpert, and the other thing that the president said when he spoke to Maria Bartiromo yesterday was that he's got a buyer for TikTok, and he'll let us know in 2 weeks. So that made me think of our friend Reed Rasner, who has been working on a deal to buy TikTok. And we just want to know, Reed, first of all, welcome back to the program, but are you the guy?
Thank you. And let's be clear. He said he has a group of
investors,
individuals, investors ready to buy it. So I know of 5 deals at the table. So
and you're one of them.
Maybe 4, and we're one of them.
Great.
So our idea that we pitched to President Trump right before he gave the last extension was, why don't all of us just come together and create one big, beautiful deal to present the ByteDance? And you know what? I hope we get that announcement here soon. So that was an exciting announcement from President Trump, and I hope that we're all going to come together and make one big, beautiful deal to buy ByteDance and make it American-owned. That's the goal here, and I think we can get it done, and that's probably the strongest offer they're going to get.
You know, and I think that's fantastic that you did that. I mean, that's exactly right up his alley. I'm sure he smiled when you said that. You know. So
I hope so, boy. It's a phenomenal thing. So I hope that we make one big, beautiful deal. That's the goal here. And I hope it's a group of really great American investors who buys this company.
So let me ask you something, because, look, I took a foray into TikTok in 2023 just to kind of see what it was about. And you know, I made the decision I didn't need another social media platform. And so I got off of it in a couple of months, because at that time, the algorithm started immediately sending me a bunch of weird stuff. And especially after the October 7th attacks. And I just said, this is too toxic. But from what I've noticed recently from people that use TikTok, and also a lot of things that I'm seeing in an ancillary way, it seems like, I'm not saying ByteDance has fixed their problem, but it seems like the Chinese and ByteDance are being a little more open to making TikTok a little less offensive. Are you seeing that too, or am I crazy?
Well, I'm not seeing. I think we have a rise in anti-Semitic views,
yes,
not only in this country but globally, for a reason. And I think that platforms like ByteDance
are a big part of that.
Meta and YouTube are a big part of that, and what they're putting in front of our children's and eyes, and how they're turning public perception is astonishing. We're seeing in New York City, Democratic Socialist, Hamas-supporting mayoral candidate win the Democratic primary. What they've done is caused true damage to our democratic republic right here in the United States. It's a national security threat, and I don't think it's changed. They may have toned it down, but I don't think it's changed, and it's not going to change until it becomes American-owned, and we get an actual focus and our arms around the situation.
And are there examples among social media platforms where they're managed differently in different countries, or is this a new kind of experiment with this kind of social media platform?
No. So right now, if you go to China and use ByteDance or TikTok, their children are exposed to STEM-focused material, meaning they're learning science, technology, engineering, mathematics, which is also part of our plan. Children will only be exposed to that kind of material. Not only that, but China takes it a step further, and they are only allowed to have 45 minutes of screen time a day. I believe it's a day, and before the apps are no longer open to them to use. So our children here in America are exposed to extreme propaganda and dance videos and unlimited screen time. But in other countries like China, who owns TikTok and knows how terrible this app can be and the nefarious uses it can be used in, treats their children different than our children. So it's a shocking difference of what's actually happening. It's scary, and this is why we see a rise in anti-Semitic rhetoric and just hate-filled content being pushed around the country right now and the world, really. It's
so
truly a shame.
and just here in Georgia, we had passed a law that limited what kids. How kids could get onto social media and the age they could do. And a federal judge has blocked the law in the last few days, saying an impact on free speech rights. You know, I don't have any problem if what you're going to turn TikTok into is something that's going to be more positive about kids, maybe push a little good American history, maybe, be patriotic. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that because there's enough choices out there that aren't like that, so you'd be pushing the right thing in the right place.
Yeah, they'll still be able to use our app. It'll be called Kids Talk. Anyone under 18 years old will go to Kids Talk. We're going to have so much technology that anyone over 18 will have free and fair reign of regular TikTok and adult talk, but kids on that platform won't be allowed, or they won't be tolerated on the adult side. So they'll be forced to the Kids Talk side until they're 18 years old, and I don't think that's restricting anyone's First Amendment rights.
Do you see that? Do you see that this could be something that could lead other social media platforms? You know, I know young people aren't on Facebook, grandmas are on Facebook, but, you know, there's other social media platforms. Do you think it'll lead to some changes in other places too?
Well, boy, I sure hope so. I hope to lead by example, that's for sure, or completely shut them down, because let's face it, Meta and how they're selling our data to foreign adversaries, and you see what Google's doing with their data. So I certainly hope that our company can lead by example and show them what digital sovereignty and American first patriotism looks like when we take care of our own before we sell our people and our people's data to foreign countries. That would certainly be a true pillar of our mission statement. So
is there any way that we can help? I mean, are we just need to pray for you guys, or can we help you in any way?
Please pray. We're praying every day. So get out there and make your social media posts, whether it's on Facebook or X or Truth Social, and tell President Trump to make one big, beautiful deal with Reisner Media and all the other offers, and all of us come to the table. Or just choose Reisner Media, and I'll take care of you. I promise I will. And we can truly make a change, a generational change in a positive way for many, many generations to come, and for every American. And it's going to be so important that this happens. So get out there and talk to President Trump. I know he's listening. He wants to save TikTok for a reason, because it really helped him get elected. He won. He got a 30+ point push in the young vote through TikTok. So I know it's important to him. He's listening. He's watching these final 2 weeks. He said 2 weeks. So these final 2 weeks are important. Get out there and make a tweet for us, please, and tag us using the hashtag #BuyUsTikTok, #BuyUSTikTok. And we'll see it, and we can retweet it and engage with you too.
Yeah, and then the Reisner Media, is that a handle?
No, it's if you're on Facebook, it's Reed W. Reisner. If you're on X, it's Reisner, the number 4 WY. And if you're on TikTok, it's Reed Reisner.
Got it. You got it. We're going to do it, and we're going to ask other people to do it too, Reed. Thank you for being with us today on short notice. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
It's where North Georgia comes to talk. It's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
So, big news about this tariffs. Now, prices are actually going down, okay? And then you've got prices going down, $121 billion, which granted, in the scheme of a $7 trillion budget is not a lot of money, but $1 billion here and $1 billion there, and pretty soon you're going to have some real money. So I think it's pretty exciting to see the amount of revenues coming in, and people just will not give, when I say people, I mean Democrats on MSNBC, will just not give a break. I mean, this particular person who was doing this report, I'm trying to see what network she was from, CNBC, which they're a financial network, and generally they don't get things, they talk about the money is what they do. And they were getting it right. So, folks, let's just forget about, I hear so many people, and by so many people, I mean Democratic friends of mine, and my Democratic friends and the people that listen to this program, please take this with the love that is intended. I am not trying to make fun of you or give you a hard time or tell you you're wrong. I'm just saying, be intellectually honest and take away the names, okay? So on my side, I don't like Chuck Schumer. I think he's really done. I think there are a lot of things he could have gotten done in the last 4 or 5 months. And because he didn't want to give Donald Trump a win, he didn't want to work on it. Okay, so on my side, it's that. On your side, you can't stand Donald Trump. I get it. Okay, I understand. But separate out from that. The markets are doing good. Prices have not gone up. Wages have gone up. And we've gotten a lot of criminal aliens out of this country. Now, I know a lot of people are focusing on, they haven't actually been convicted. They haven't this or that, but they've been charged. And I'm comfortable because it is a lie to say there are raids going on where people are just being snatched off the street. And also, let me just put a caveat in there. That is not a part of regular law enforcement because people get snatched off the street every day and separated from their families if they commit crimes. Okay? I hope that never happens to me. Okay? But I had a situation once with a Georgia State Patrol, which I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was too stressed out about the fact my baby was in the car, because this was a long time ago. He was upset because I had been speeding. I don't know what the situation was, but I got off to the wrong foot in this situation. And he's law enforcement, so I'm going to defer to him. But he was not happy with me. And I was, for a minute, even though I was a young mother, I was white, I was, all the things you're supposed to be not to ever get in trouble, okay? I, for a minute, thought the thing could have gone haywire. And I don't mean that anything bad was going to happen to me, but that he might arrest me or he might actually give me a real serious ticket. So it can happen in the blink of an eye, okay, is what I'm saying. So what I'm also saying is, think about these folks. You have got Democratic elected officials who are posting on websites on how to identify ICE agents, where they're staying by hotels, where they're going, and what they look like and where their families live, and telling you how to find this information out so you can expose them and have, as Chuck Schumer said, rain and thunder fall down on them. That's just not okay. I don't care what universe you live in. Trying to identify people so that you can go harass them is not okay. That's not how we do things here. Okay? How we do things here is we have conversations. The other part of it is, this Elaine Slotnick, who is a up-and-coming rising star in the Democratic Party and sees a president when she looks in the mirror. She does this beautiful speech less than a week ago of all these kind of moderate ideas. I mean, quite frankly, she sounded kind of like a moderate Democrat. But do you think she's worked with Republicans on one single thing since she's been in the United States Senate? No, she hasn't. Jon Ossoff represents a state that is more Republican than it was when he got elected. But even with the numbers he got elected by, it's a 50-50 state. Might be 52-48, might be something else. Okay? But he works with works with Republicans on some things. But on the big things, he does not reflect Georgia values and the way most Georgians would want him to vote. He was on the wrong side of all the Israel votes. Overwhelmingly, Georgia was in favor of it. He's on the wrong side, it looks like, on the big, beautiful bill, where roughly the last poll I saw was about 56%. And, there's this lie that continues to be being told related to Joe Biden, that he had the most successful legislative record. Shondell said it last Friday. The most successful legislative record anybody has ever had. I would beg to differ with you on that. I would beg to differ with you that he had a better legislative record than Lyndon Johnson. I didn't like a lot of the things that Lyndon Johnson did, but he passed Medicare. He passed the Civil Rights Act. He passed, those are two of the biggest things in the history of our country. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, all the stuff he passed to try to get us out of the Depression, all the things that got passed in the Congress and the Senate that happened after the Civil War that gave black people their full rights and made our Constitution better. I'm sorry to say that a guy that barely knew what room he was in, that because he got two big pieces of legislation passed, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was not that. Okay, inflation went up. They didn't make any charging stations. They didn't do any of the things, the infrastructure things they said they were going to do with that bill. Okay, and he passed the final COVID stuff. That's kind of two big things. But I think in comparison to Medicare and the Civil Rights Act, or Social Security being passed in the early stages of FDR, I just really don't believe that, you can make the statement that he was the most successful legislative president. He wasn't even the most successful legislative president of this century. If you just base on legislative success, Obama getting ACA passed was a much bigger thing. Donald Trump getting the tax cuts passed in 2017 was a much bigger thing. Impacted more people for good or for ill and put more money in everybody's pocket. So we've got to stop this stuff of saying how everything is the worst it's ever been. It's the best it's ever been. It's all of this. None of that is true. We're in pretty good times right now. We have first world problems. We have most problems. I'm not saying other things don't exist, but we're in the right direction on arresting people related to human trafficking. Another huge arrest yesterday. There was also a very big healthcare crackdown that Georgia was a part of, that they found a bunch of people that were criminally using the healthcare system to make money off of it and taking monies away from people who needed it and putting it in their own pockets. That was announced yesterday. We have great things happening in this country. We also bombed Iran and had a ceasefire in 12 days. We're going to have big announcements all around the world. So please, all I'm asking of my friends, and what I mean by that is my MSNBC listeners and my Democratic friends, it's not the end of the world. Because you might know one person that lost their job does not mean that everybody's losing their job. Look at the numbers. I know it makes it personal when it happens to somebody you know, but because it happens one time or two times or 10 times to people that you know, doesn't mean it's happening millions of times. And we live in a country of 330 million plus people that have lots of different needs. And the key to meeting those needs is freedom. Having the freedom to make your own choices, having the freedom to be able to have a budget that can get passed, and having the freedom to have the government off your back so that you can make a better life for yourself. Those are the kinds of things we need to be focusing on.
Putting the talk in news talk. It's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
So this thing is getting bigger that happened over the weekend at Glastonbury, which is one of the big music festivals. And it's still around. It's like a Woodstock or something like that, but it's not a one-off. They do it every year or every couple of years. I've forgotten which one. And it's always usually had kind of mainstream people. But I want to ask you about this, Logan, because we deal with this all the time in a small way in our business, because we are live going out. We do not have a delay or anything like that. But in this case, BBC was recording and putting this concert out live. And the guy that was there from the BBC said, I probably, I should have probably cut the feed. But it seems to me, okay, we'll get to the anti-Semitic stuff. Let's forget about that part. For a long time, these festivals have had inappropriate language. They've had, all kinds of things, maybe nude people walking around, things that, your kids can't see.
Right.
So it would seem to me that the logical, responsible thing would be that you delay it at least and record it, edit it, and show it on another day at best.
That seems like the reasonable one. Or also, you could just replace it because they have plenty of just B-roll of other various concerts going on, or just highlighting whatever the food item they have up there. Just something you could have done something else to put that out there for the world to see.
And what was so horrifying to me was not that the guy on stage was saying it. You have that all the time. Most of these big stars traffic in controversy. Very few, like Paul McCartney avoids controversy. You can list a few other, Jeff Foxworthy, we talked about, they avoid controversy. But a lot of these other types, especially the ones that have these kind of theme sort of acts where they're trying to be all big and bad and they're trying to present, I think the funniest things is seeing how these people really dress in real life. And a lot of times you find that they're not at all like they are on stage. I mean, look, Kiss is the best example of that. I mean, they're a bunch of square guys that, lived a good life, but they went out and were the glam rockers and all that stuff. That doesn't surprise me that they would say these kinds of things. It's the fact they led the crowd in it, and the crowd played along. I don't know if that was alcohol or if that was they didn't realize what they were saying. But when you call for the death of someone or a group of people, I don't care who it is, that's too far.
No, I feel your sentiment with that also. And, with a lot of musicians, right? And I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of them. It feels more so like lead singers, if you're in a band, or just solo artists, that I don't know if they feel like a responsibility or something to have their opinions be heard and to their fans, which, if you have those opinions, that's fine. You're entitled to whatever you want to believe or whatnot. But like you said, leading a chant to the crowd, feels a little like
IDF,
it feels like you're stepping over a line there.
And Marco Rubio has said, the Secretary of State, that he is not going to give them a visa to come into this country if that's what their act is going to be like.
Right, what their messaging is.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you remember, for something as small as marijuana possession, the Beatles, not the Beatles, but John Lennon and Paul McCartney were restricted from coming to the United States for a period of time because they had a very small interaction with marijuana in their luggage. Okay? I mean, it was really, when you look at it in today's terms, it was like nothing.
Yeah, in today's world is nothing.
Yeah, but for several years, they could not come to the United States because they had violated drug laws.
Right.
So people do pay for what they do.
They do, yes.
There's consequences to actions. So anyway, on the other side of the consequences, in Florida today, they're opening Alligator Alcatraz. And I know I've got a little smile on my face as I'm saying this because, first of all, there's alligators all over South Florida. You should not be surprised that there's alligators in South Florida. There are more than there should be because some people think they can have alligators as pets. Oh, these little alligators are so cute. That's why we have too many of them in the Okefenokee Swamp, which they're usually not that far north. But because people get them for pets and don't realize they're going to get to be 8 feet long, and then they end up releasing them into the wild, right? So that
they're not a chicken or anything.
Release them into the wild, and then they can, eat up somebody else. So there's this funny meme out there that it's got an alligator with a sign, it's AI. It says, "Hey, Tom Homan wins breakfast." I shouldn't laugh, but this should keep people from trying to escape. And here's what President Trump said about it this morning.
What the Alligator Alcatraz is the idea that it's done we just get eaten by an alligator or a snake or something. I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If the snakes are fast, but alligators, we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison. How to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Look like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay?
Okay. I know I shouldn't laugh at this. I shouldn't laugh, Logan. Because it's really, I wouldn't say it's inappropriate. It's a pretty funny joke, actually, but it's being told by the President of the United States. Yeah.
I think Trump is one of the more, unintentionally funniest just people out there, just with some of the things that he said. And whenever he was saying, when they go like this, he was waving his hand like he was frantically trying to get a cab.
Not a straight line. Yeah.
Right. And like I told you, this feels like something just straight out of Looney Tunes, where they've got alligators patrolling, waiting for something to happen. But it's a bold strategy.
It's a bold strategy. And I got to tell you, Mr. President, I kind of know why you're doing this. Like, you wear those ridiculous hats at official events. I know it's because you're outside, the wind's blowing. You don't want, your hair getting blown around. I'm the same way. My husband gets so mad at me. I get in the car and he wants to, if it's kind of medium, if it's not quite air conditioning weather yet, but whatever, he wants to roll the windows down. And I'm like, no, it'll blow my hair around. We're going to put the windows up. We're going to use the AC. I don't care if your gas gets used a little bit more. We live in America. It is a first world problem, and I'm not going to have my hair blow around.
We have the luxury of using AC and not having frizzy hair everywhere.
That's the truth. But anyway, I am concerned about this poll that's out about patriotism in America, and that, of course, Republicans feel very patriotic. Independents feel pretty patriotic. Democrats are down to 36% of Democrats are proud of their country. I mean, really, last week, Logan, I don't know if you saw it, but Rosie O'Donnell's calling into another news show. Supposedly she moved to Ireland so she could get away from all of this, but she calls into this news show. She's like Harry. She ought to get together with Harry and Meghan, actually. But she calls into this news show, and she talks about, how unhappy she is and how Trump made her do all this stuff and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you already left the country. Why are you mad about this?
I'm about to say, you don't live here.
You don't live here anymore.
You left. You went to Ireland.
And actually, I love Ireland, but if you want to live in a left-wing country, go to Ireland.
Oh,
okay,
that's
they
like
allow all kinds of things. I mean, once they voted in abortion because they were a Catholic country, man, it's been all bets are off. It's like, if you look at what they're doing, they're holding Benjamin Netanyahu as a war criminal. I mean, they're doing all kinds of things that they wouldn't normally do. And they've gotten very liberal, very, very liberal. But that's okay. All of this stuff, people, runs in cycles. It runs in cycles. That's why I always say, vote, parent your children, and have a face-to-face conversation. Because the bottom line is this. You've got to take care of you and yours. We have very little control. Like the texter asked me, I think it was Steve, asked me, do you really think it's going to make a difference if we call some of the senators up? No, it probably won't. But at least you will have logged your opinion so that when you go work against them to get them out of office, they'll know why. I just think it's worth the conversation with people that you disagree with, people that you agree with. I had some people in here recently for an interview on a very neutral subject. But I know from seeing it posts they have on social media that they're pretty liberal. But did we talk about that? No. Everything's not politics. But I do want, getting back to politics, I do want to get these tax cuts passed because I do not want my rates to go up and to pay $2,500 more. And here's why. I don't think they're spending the money they've got efficiently. And I think if you do, I want to hear from a Democrat that, think about it overnight if you have to, that thinks the government is spending money efficiently. I want somebody with a straight face. I'll probably get no calls from this. A straight face telling me we're doing everything we can to spend the money as efficiently because I care about the money I send to the government. Logan cares about the money he sends to the government. I'm very happy that we have roads out here and we have clean water and all the things we have that government pays for. There is a role for government. But they cannot have more money just because they ask for it when they haven't shown me that they can spend what they already have. And the other part we got to have is we got to have regular audits and real audits. Okay? because that's how you find the waste, fraud, and abuse.
It's local radio, and that's why you're listening. It's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Trillions. I mean, you have a number that's talking about if taxpayer money is an issue. Is that not a concern of yours?
Well, the interesting thing about the CBO survey, their forecast is that they don't take into account, one, the tariff revenue, which is going to be about $2 trillion over the next 10 years. Number two, they don't take into account...
If the tariff revenue stands,
sure,
right?
But
that's
just,
an if, but go ahead.
There's a lot of ifs here.
Sure.
And the second one is, if you secure the border and save taxpayers $150 billion a year, Trump has done that 99% reduction in border crossings since President Biden was thrown out of office. What ends up happening, Laura, is you save the taxpayer money in the process. The CBO has not put that in their model. And then finally, they assumed that the Trump tax cuts, which everybody in D.C., Republican and Democrat, would tell you were going to continue, they assumed they would expire, and therefore their model does not accurately reflect that.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's James Fishback, who's the CEO of Azoria, which is a hedge fund, and he's talking about all the things that we need to know about the big, beautiful bill and about the CBO score, because, why do they have the CBO if they don't really do an accurate estimation of everything that's happening? And you know what? If these departments actually do save the kind of money it looks like they're saving, then they will actually spend less, and the actual spending will go down. I'm not happy with the big, beautiful bill, but I understand because of the parameters they're under, this is what we're going to get. Now, they go on to explain the CBO and all of the things that are happening there in kind of words that we all can understand. Stephen Moran, who's the Council of Economic Advisors chair, explains it this way.
Will come down through economic growth and other policies that we're implementing. Let me tell you all the things that are not included in the CBO score that are getting ignored by the doubters in this process. There's better revenue from economic growth that I just mentioned a moment ago. That's about $4 trillion. There's going to be about $3 trillion of tariff revenue coming in, too, that because they don't come in through the legislative process, they don't get counted in the score. But those $3 trillion are as good as any other dollars for bringing down the deficit. There's about $1.5 trillion of further administrative cuts. These are things like reduced headcount at federal agencies, the government becoming more efficient, doing more with less. And there's also another about $1.5 trillion of reduced interest expenses because we're borrowing less for all the other things. You add all this up, you get to about $8.5 to $11 trillion of growth across all of these different means of, $8.5 to $11 trillion of reduced deficit from all of these means of bringing the deficit down. And it's all in all, combined, extremely powerful. And so it's very, very powerful deficit reduction. It'll bring the debt to GDP ratio down by over 20 percentage points relative to what the CBO expects.
Okay. So good news on all fronts. And I think it's really, really important that, that we understand that. And look, I have known for years that they just don't do dynamic scoring, and you can't take into consideration a good economy. And we certainly are having a really good economy. Now, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit and talk about this new F1 movie for a minute. Logan, have you seen it yet?
I have not, no, but I heard good reviews about it, though.
I'm going to go see it sometime this weekend. I don't know when it is, or maybe I don't know if it'll be on the airplane yet when I go over, maybe when I come back. That would be great. That's where I catch up on movies, is when I have a long flight. But here's what I love about this movie. I haven't seen it yet, but this is what I'm going to love about this movie. Kind of like Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, or whatever it was called. It's just a great movie. It's not trying to teach you a lesson. It's not trying to get you on a political point of view. It's just a great movie that guys and girls can go see. Obviously, Mission Impossible, guys go see it for all the stunts and all that kind of stuff. Women go see it for, I guess, Tom Cruise. I mean, I'm not crazy about Tom Cruise, but I think he does a good work product. It's a movie guys and girls can go see. Same thing with this F1. You got a young guy who's really good looking. You got Brad Pitt for people my age. You got a couple of other people in the movie that are really nice looking, and they've got some good workout scenes and things like that, it appears. And it's got fast cars in it. So on top of all of that, you got something that boys and girls are going to like to go see together, men and women. And it's just entertainment. It's not trying to teach you how to be a better person. I do not need that from a movie that I'm spending now $65 at a minimum to get 2 tickets, a couple of things of popcorn, and a drink.
Yeah, basically getting a mortgage just to go to the movies at this point. But no, I mean, you brought up a good point. This, from all accounts, just feels like a fun racing movie, with a good story, good acting, and all things involved. And like I said, it's gotten favorable reviews I've seen, and it seems like it's been a hit so far.
So this week I've been catching up on all of my kid movies, because I've had my grandkids here, and we kind of did this thing where we wanted them, yes, they're watching some movies, but they are not all on individual screens. Today they first asked for their screens. They were at camp where they had no screens for a week, and now it's Wednesday. Since we picked them up on Saturday, they haven't asked for their screens until today. So I'm just going to keep it with, hey, we're going to watch something together. We have 3 big TVs in our house. On the deck, we're watching sports. In here, we'll watch a baking show. But we're keeping it all educational, or not like boring educational, but like a baking show, or How It's Made. We love How It's Made because it's a really good show, and it's a great show to take a nap to because the music is all do 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 do, so it's funny. But I just think, and the movies, because I have Amazon Prime and I get this every week. I get this 6% back because I get my stuff delivered all at one time. I do not have the big expanded series of Prime. I just have the regular videos that you get. So if I have to buy a movie and I use my points, it's like $1.
Right,
to
you're
rent
not
a movie
paying much
for 30
of anything.
days. So it's great. And so the kids get to watch the movies. They're not complaining too much about the fact I don't have a cable. And we figured out a way to watch Wimbledon. So we're all happy.
I'm about to say, everyone's happy in that household, it seems like.
It is. So anyway, I'm going to go see F1, mainly because I really love Brad Pitt. Okay, I think in general, he has stayed out of the political realm. And I don't recall him ever endorsing a candidate or anything like that. Now, he was married to Angelina Jolie, who has been very political, but that didn't work out. And that 5-minute video he did leading up to the Super Bowl this year. No, it wasn't the Super. Yes, it was the Super Bowl. Of course, we had the terror attack on right before the Sugar Bowl. Then we had the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. Then we had the Super Bowl. He did like the most patriotic thing. I hope they replay this over the 4th of July. But he did this patriotic thing, and I think he's a guy from the Midwest. He's not really a California guy. So I'm going to watch the movie, but I think it was a fun movie to see. And again, it's like, here's one of the reviewers said, basically Top Gun Maverick, but with racing cars. A solid feel-good popcorn flick with strong performances and excellent race sequences. That's what we want.
That's what you want from an F1 movie. You have to have good racing. I mean, obviously you want to have good acting and storylines and whatnot, but yeah, it boils down to how are the races? How is it competitive?
That's what you want from a summer blockbuster.
Exactly. That's all you need.
Anybody can go see. Did I tell you the story about taking my grandkids to the Mission Impossible?
No, you didn't.
So their parents approved it. They're allowed to see PG-13. They're like 11 and 9. They're allowed to see that. But the 7-year-old went too, and I said, it will do a different movie if you don't want. No, it'll be okay. Well, I'm telling you what, the first 10 minutes, I was thinking to myself, this has been a mistake because there was so much violence in the first 10 minutes that I was like wanting to cover Amelia's eyes because it was too. And then it got into the action and the figuring it out and the stunts. And it was okay. Turned out okay. It's kind of like when I went to, what was that play? The Book of Mormon. Okay, The Book of Mormon was written by the same guys that did, I think, South Park.
Oh, you're right,
it was totally irreverent. A lot of irreverent religious stuff, okay? So the third song in, and I went with 2 of my daughter's actor friends and her. So they were going for the artistic value. Third song in was F God, okay? And I'm like sitting there clutching my chair, and they're looking at me like, is she going to take us out of this theater? Because I didn't know what I stayed through, even though it was uncomfortable. By the end, it was a really good message about religious tolerance and that kind of thing. But man, there was a moment there. To hear the full versions of last week's Martha Zoller shows, go to the podcast page at accesswdun.com, and you can follow me on social media at Martha Zoller.